All right, folks. I've got to be honest, things aren't looking too promising at the moment. From where I stand, the current setup feels pretty tough. Taking a look at the XRP/BTC chart, it's clear that someone tried hard to defend that crucial 0.00260 support level. But eventually, it cracked, and now that level's been breached. In my view, that's a strong indicator that XRP could continue to lag behind Bitcoin for a while. I expect that trend to persist until we see both assets reach their respective bottoms. Only then might XRP start to gain some ground again. That said, we'll likely witness occasional spikes where XRP temporarily outperforms BIC. If not, it risks slipping into total irrelevance. But broadly speaking, I'm leaning bearish until we start getting some convincing bullish signals. Right now, the chart's just stuck in a narrow consolidation zone, very sideways, with little direction. Sooner or later, there's going to be a break either up or down, and, based on current momentum, I'm inclined to think we'll break lower. Meanwhile, HR Pipto dropped an update that a major whale closed out a full Bitcoin short just a few hours ago, only to jump straight back in, this time with 40x leverage. The new short? A massive $54 million bet at a Bitcoin price of $94.7K, with a liquidation point at $15K. That's a huge risk, and it shows how aggressive some of the big players are being. We're seeing heavy short interest across both Bitcoin and XRP right now. There's a lot of pressure building. Ethereum isn't looking much better either. If you're not currently invested in it, you might actually be in a good spot because that chart hasn't even shown a proper relief rally lately. Now, back to the whale we talked about. After closing his first short position, he jumped right back in with a massive $54 million short at a price point of $94,700. That's an enormous trade. You have to ask yourself, do these whales know something we don't? It's hard to say, but from where I'm standing, the signs are all there. You already know my price targets. I'm not expecting any dramatic moves overnight, but my first significant milestone for XRP remains $1.30. I get it, plenty of people are skeptical about that forecast. But in the end, time will be the judge. So much of this is going to hinge on what Bitcoin does next. Personally, I feel it's becoming increasingly obvious that we're heading straight into a deep recession, maybe even a total market meltdown. One of the biggest warning signs? Warren Buffett preparing to step down from Berkshire Hathaway. Let's be real, Buffett doesn't just walk away for no reason. When a titan like that retires, it usually means something major is brewing. His departure could be a signal that we're on the verge of a historic economic reset. And he's not the only one. Jeff Bezos has been selling off massive amounts of Amazon stock up to 25 million shares worth around $5 billion. Do you really think he doesn't have insight into where things are headed? Even now, he's still unloading. Then there's Tesla's chair just dumped $32 million worth of stock. At BlackRock, alerts have gone out as well. CEO Larry Fink just sold $15 million in shares. These aren't isolated moves. Charles Schwab, the founder of the brokerage giant, just sold $3 million worth of his own shares too. Sure, there are many reasons insiders might sell, but let's not sugarcoat it most of the time. It's because they expect the market to decline and want to lock in profits before the drop. Meanwhile, JP Morgan's forecast isn't too encouraging either. They're projecting that the S500 could fall to 4000 in their worst-case scenario. Looking at the charts, that estimate seems to align with Dow Jones around 33,000. Not catastrophic, but definitely concerning. If the S were to fall further to around 3,500, that would signal serious trouble. And don't forget, a sharp drop in the S could trigger a chain reaction across global markets. Just take a look at those red candles, they're flashing warnings everywhere. When the S500 dropped, Bitcoin followed closely behind, and XRP wasn't spared either. It plummeted right along with them. Major players like Goldman Sachs are now sounding warnings that the market downturn might not be over, hinting that we haven't reached the true bottom yet. While it's tough to know if insiders are being completely upfront, their signals are clearly pointing toward more turbulence ahead. Personally, I don't believe we've seen the worst of it. I think there's still a wave of fear and capitulation to come before we hit rock bottom. Analysts are pulling up historical chart patterns fractals from past crashes, and many believe we're staring down the barrel of a deeper collapse, not just a routine correction. Some are even forecasting a major economic upheaval around 2026. And here's where things start to get really bizarre. There's a report circulating that a former Bush administration official exposed a $21 trillion underground city project built by the U.S. government to shelter elites in the event of a global catastrophe. It sounds like science fiction, but if true, it suggests that those in power are preparing for either an economic meltdown or something far worse. Meanwhile, geopolitical tensions are ramping up. Israel has reportedly approved a permanent occupation of Gaza, and gold prices are soaring, spiking by more than $100 in a single day. That's a classic sign of fear taking over the markets. Ideally, gold should cool off during stable times, but it's clearly heading in the opposite direction, signaling widespread anxiety. On the currency front, things are getting even stranger. The Taiwan dollar is surging against the US dollar and other major currencies, a move that's baffling many. In times of geopolitical tension, especially with rising fears of conflict between China and Taiwan, you'd normally expect the Taiwan dollar to weaken. But in this case, the Central Bank of Taiwan has stopped suppressing the currency to support exporters, which could explain the spike. Regardless, currency markets are becoming increasingly unstable. These are unusual times, no doubt. And if you recall, Mr. Paul did advise us to monitor Taiwan closely. With the Taiwan dollar making unprecedented moves, some are starting to wonder if this could be the next major black swan event. Such abrupt, across-the-board strength in a currency is extremely rare. It's the kind of statistical anomaly that lives on the fringe of financial norms. All signs are pointing to a deeply uncertain global landscape right now.